evening, Jelly Beans. This is Jewelry Jelly here with Daryl Takahashi and George Washing Machine. And listening to some very chill music, I gotta say. So this is, I decided after everything that happened last week, I really wasn't feeling the vibe of the game that I was playing, Taylor Tales. It just, kind of felt like it was gonna go in a direction I did not want to take, very Stockholm Syndrome-y, which, no, I don't like that. And anyway, there are just so many other visual novels that I'd like to play. Thank you very much for the resub, MJD82, and thank you for the nice welcome back. Anyway, so we're switching to another game that I discovered a while back that I wanted to stream called Tyrion Cuthbert, Attorney of the Arcane. And I played the first chapter of it a while back, and basically it's like Phoenix Wright but Magic World. And I'm not talking about Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright either. Before all that, one thing I want to announce is that tomorrow night, starting at 9 o'clock Eastern, they are going to be auctioning off a prize at Desert Bus for Hope that I made and donated. It is an amigurumi plush of Ketchi from Final Fantasy VII, and it is adorable. It is solid. It's smiling. And I took pictures of it in a beach chair with a drink because he deserves it. Anyway, I'm just going to post the link to the prize there. And the bidding is going to start tomorrow evening. And it's probably going to get pretty high, judging from all of the really high bids that have been placed so far for all of these different prizes. So anyway, alright, now that I have that out of the way, let me just bring up the window and we will start a new game. So there's various cases: the cold-hearted aristocrat, the Walking Dead, the origins of Horus, severed ties, and attorney of the Arcane. But we'll start with case 1. The fields of battle are filled with suffering and despair, and magukas. On them are a clash of souls, souls brought to conflict by the corrupt powers that rule over them. I was transporting a client in my carriage that evening. So this is Reese Rudolph, occupation servant, age 34, arcane art none. We were driving by the McCoy Tavern when we heard a disturbance. I was worried that something was amiss, so I walked into the building to see what the commotion was. There I saw the defendant. She was lit by the blue glow of the dining room lights, and she was stabbing the victim with her magical sword. Objection! Oh, is that? Oh, we all know where that comes from. Mr. Rudolph, you testified that you saw my client murdering the victim. Tyrion Cuthbert, occupation, defense attorney, age 20, arcane art none. And you supposedly saw her casting magic while doing so? Yes, I could never forget such a grisly sight. That moment was burnt into my memory. I see. Well, it's funny that you say that. How so? Because your entire testimony was a complete lie. What? Are you accusing the witness of perjury? Aria Steelwind, occupation, prosecutor, age 18, arcane art, evocation. Why does she have 4 nipples? Surely you know that such accusations can't be made lightly, Mr. Cuthbert. My accusation is far from baseless, Steelwind. Think about the state of the crime scene at the time of the murder. The witness couldn't have seen anything, much less a homicide. Wait, are we beginning this in medias res? Hold on one second. Okay, so it looks like... Yeah, we are beginning this in medias res. He knows something. But on this battlefield, there are still a few people who carry the ideals of justice within their hearts. But you have to wonder sometimes, are these ideals truly just? Or are they simply lies fed to us by our elders? Damn it. Damn it! Flintheart, you fool! Why couldn't you have just listened to me? Rudolph, I require your assistance. Yes, sir? By the Skilled Lord, what did you... You killed him! Alert the town guard. Tell them that you saw his daughter fleeing the scene. I'm sure their neighbors heard them arguing with each other. They'll immediately suspect her. At once, sir. Episode 1, The Cold-Hearted Aristocrat. Earlier that day. Ugh. You feel yourself slowly succumbing to unbearable pain. You don't think you'll be able to survive this much longer. Are you sure you're okay, Cuthbert? Ruby Timora. Occupation, attorney. Age, 46. Arcane art, none. You look like you're about to pass out. Don't worry about me, Ms. Timora. I'm fine. You've been riding in this carriage for days. You are definitely not fine. With each bump in the road, you feel yourself becoming more and more nauseous. It's taking every ounce of willpower just to hold down your lunch. I'm perfectly fine. If you say so. You feel the carriage drive over a large bump in the road. You can feel and hear your stomach retching in protest. That stew you ate for lunch doesn't taste nearly as good the second time. On second thought. That's better. You take a deep breath of fresh air. It's the first breath you've taken today that hasn't threatened to come back out. Sorry about this. I didn't expect the roads in this town to be this uneven. I suppose they don't get a lot of traffic here. You've been on the road with your mentor for days. Together, you've been searching for a man named Flintheart McCoy. Supposedly, he's been a voice of dissidence against King Olivier for the last few days. Decades. You have no idea what kind of business Ms. Timora would have with him. But you know better than to ask questions about her affairs. Hello, travelers. Welcome to Cornhaven. A local merchant steps out from one of the nearby shops. He has a wide smile on his face, and he approaches your carriage with the enthusiasm of a starving vulture. Would a pair of dignified individuals such as yourself care for a refreshing drink? Those clothes, they must be from the city. He certainly has a friendly expression, but his thoughts seem very analytical. Well, I don't need a drink, but... Ms. Timora glances at you and your stomach rumbles in agreement. Ah, of course, I have just the thing for an upset stomach. With a carriage like that, I bet I could fleece them for a lot. His thoughts and emotions are laid bare through your eye of Horus. But the merchant's expression doesn't betray a hint of what he's truly thinking. You wonder if his false smile could get any bigger. At this rate, he might dislocate his jaw. How about 2 flasks of apple juice for 50 silver pieces? 50 silver pieces? You may find the price daunting, but this is organic and fresh-made apple juice. It's just store-bought juice, but I bet they can't even tell the difference. Out of the corner of your eye, you spot an empty bottle of store-bought apple juice. It's resting on a table inside the merchant's shop. Store-bought apple juice has been added to your notes. Tyrion will make mental notes of notable clues he sees in the world. These notes are instrumental to solving mysteries and progressing through the game. You can check these notes at any time by opening the toolbar in the top left of the screen. Trust me, it's worth the extra gold. Normally, the price wouldn't matter that much to you, but you don't appreciate being treated like an easy mark. Arguments. You've started an argument with another character. During an argument, your opponent will make claims that you need to respond to. Responding correctly will lower your opponent's confidence. Responding incorrectly will lower your confidence. And once you run out of confidence, you lose the argument. I think you need to elaborate. You said that this apple juice is organic, but where is it made? It's produced by the hard-working people of this town, of course. In a small town like ours, we only deal with locally sourced products. Presenting during arguments for certain claims, you will need to present a piece of evidence to refute that claim. To proceed, present the piece of evidence that contradicts your opponent's claim. You say that, but I can see an empty bottle of store-bought juice inside your shop. Why would you have something like that if you only deal with organic products? Oh, how did that get there? Make no mistake, I only have that because I wanted to see how my products compare to that of the city. And let me tell you, that mass-produced slop doesn't even compare to my product. What an obvious lie. Honestly, I'm offering you a very good deal. So for certain claims, you will need to look at your opponent's thoughts and emotions. Choose the correct response depending on the information seen. Logic. Choose this option if your opponent's thought contradicts something in your notes. Intuition. Choose this option if your opponent's thought contradicts their claim. Empathy. Choose this option if your opponent's emotions contradict their claim. Okay. Sir, it's obvious those flax are only worth 5 silver pieces. What? How did you... Well, it's clear you're a very shrewd man. Right. Okay, I won that argument. I'm so thirsty. Out of the corner of your eye, you spot a child watching you from afar. Her eyes are fixed on the flasks of apple juice. How about 20 silver pieces for 3 flasks? Of course, sir. The kingdom of Wyverngard, established several centuries ago by the 7 High Archmages. The kingdom is currently ruled by King Olivier de Wyverngard and the mages of his nobility. The nobility will tell you that our marvelous kingdom is a land of prosperity and happiness. A land where its people share the wealth and succor provided by the kingdom's magic. Thank you! I haven't had anything like this in years. The child's passing thoughts tell you exactly how much succor the kingdom is sharing. I didn't know you had such an eye for rural economics. Well, I suppose I just have a good intuition for this sort of thing. Or did you use another kind of eye? Don't get me wrong, your so-called Eye of Horus is an amazing gift. You should take every opportunity to hone it. But try to be more subtle next time. If I can see through you, others will be able to as well. Right. Anyways, I did some asking around while you were haggling. Supposedly the McCoy Tavern should be north of here. If my tip is correct, this should be the place. Wait, this is the McCoy Tavern? With the state it's in, calling it a tavern is being pretty generous. You find it hard to believe that this has a secret meeting place for dissidents. But now that you think about it, maybe that's the entire point. The tavern has been shut down for years. Nowadays, Flintheart just uses it to host his rallies. Although I do wonder how they've been keeping themselves afloat for this long. Hey, you lot! The McCoy Tavern is closed. A gruff man approaches your carriage as you step out of it. He's eyeing you and Ms. Tamora, a clear look of contempt on his face. I take it that you're Flintheart McCoy? I am. What of it? Sorry for not writing ahead of time, but I'm Ruby Tamora. I wanted to speak with you. Ruby Tamora? Wait, the Ruby Tamora? Any animosity he initially had immediately vanishes. He lets out a laugh. It's as if he were meeting an old friend. Why didn't you say so? Come on in. You didn't expect someone like him to know about Ms. Tamora. But you suppose it makes sense. They both fight against the same enemy. albeit in different ways. Sorry about the mess. We haven't exactly been... Well, anyways, what brings you here? I take it you didn't journey all this way to see my wrecked tavern. I'm here on behalf of a client. We have a proposition that you might be interested in. Is there anywhere where we can talk more privately? Sure, the kitchen is empty. Wonderful. Tyrion, stay here while I speak with McCoy. What? Don't you need my help? There's no need for that. Like hell there's no need for that. If she's trying to make a deal with Flintheart, you can easily read his thoughts to help her. You desperately want to object, but she shoots you a stern look that causes you to freeze up. You slowly look away from her. You spend some time waiting alone in the tavern's dining area. It's already been hours since Ms. Tamora and Flintheart went into the kitchen. You can hear faint murmurs from behind the closed door, and you've been resisting the urge to eavesdrop. But even from here, you can tell that their conversation is slowly becoming more frustrated. It looks like they're gonna be a while. Well, it's a good thing you always bring a chess set around. You bring out the small chessboard that you've carried around since you were a child. Chess can be played with one person, and you've always taken advantage of that. Checkmate. You win against yourself. This time is black. I've played 10 games already, and I've won 7 out of 10 times as black. Hello? Statistically, white is more likely to win. Unbeknownst to you, you're thinking out loud. So why am I performing so much better when playing as black? Hello? You still don't notice her, and you're verbalizing your thoughts just as fast as you're thinking them. Am I becoming overconfident as white because it has a first move advantage? Or perhaps that very advantage is affecting my choices and making me play in a suboptimal manner. If a personal quirk is making me play illogically, then I need to correct it. Hey! What? How long have you been standing there? It's about time you noticed me. I've been trying to get your attention for a while now. Oh, sorry. Do you know where my dad is? Your dad? Flintheart McCoy. I'm his daughter, Celeste. So here is Celeste McCoy, a mercenary. Oh, Flintheart is speaking with my mentor right now. Oh, I wanted to show him something. Do you know when they'll be done? I don't know. They've been speaking in the kitchen for a while now. You hear Flintheart and Ms. Tamora's voices getting louder and more frustrated, but Celeste doesn't seem to notice. Her eyes seem to be focused on your chessboard. This is chess, right? Are you playing against someone? Oh, I'm playing against myself, actually. Oh, that's... You feel a judgmental stare. Playing alone helps me develop new strategies. Plenty of professionals do it. Hey, I'm not the type to shame a man for playing with himself. That's... Phrasing! Relax, I'm just joking. Anyways, if you're still waiting for your mentor, do you want to play a game? Oh, you know how to play? Sure, I've read about this before. She's read about it? This table is so dusty. Celeste takes a seat on the other side of the table. She tries to set up her side of the board, but fumbles with the pieces. She stares at one of them, confused. How do I arrange these things again? A part of you regrets accepting her challenge, but it would be impolite to back out now. Here, I'll arrange them for you. Thanks! Checkmate. You defeat her in 2 moves. Wait, what? Already? How did you do that? You decide against telling her what the name that mate was. Rematch me. I want a do-over. Sure. Why not? It's not as if you have anything better to do. Celeste's brow furrows as she tries to decide on her next move. But she hasn't realized that the game is already finished. Here. She moves her knight into position to attack your queen. It should have stopped your assault on her king. But... Checkmate. A scholar's mate this time. What? Come on! How do you keep doing that? You look at the closed door to the kitchen. Flintheart and Ms. Tamora's discussion is becoming louder. It doesn't sound like they'll be done anytime soon. Again! I'll definitely beat you this time. For someone who had clearly never played before, she's quickly improving with each game. It's impressive. She's observing your strategies and adapting them to her playstyle. With the way she's playing now, she could even defeat a nationally ranked noble. Checkmate. But even so, you've been playing this game for a lot longer than she has. How are you always one step ahead of me? It's like you're reading my mind. As if you'd even need to. Just one more game. I'll get you this time. Hello, Cuthbert. Ms. Tamora emerges from the kitchen with Flintheart. They both look mentally exhausted. It looks like negotiations didn't go well. Hi, Dad. Oh, hello, sweetie. Flintheart looks irritated, but as soon as he sees Celeste, he quickly hides it behind a smile. You wonder what their discussion was about. What's this? Some kind of game? Ms. Tamora glances at pieces on the board. Don't feel too bad about losing to him. He's nationally ranked. Oh, you're a professional? Is that why you're wearing a suit? No, chess is just a hobby. I'm actually a defense attorney. An attorney? Speaking of which, we should probably be on our way. Aye, sorry for refusing you after you came all this way. I really respect what you're doing, but I don't want anything to do with your mage friends. You wonder what he meant by that. Was Ms. Tamora trying to introduce him to one of our clients? Anyways, it is getting late. If you leave now, you won't get back to the city until morning. She's right. This region is littered with bandits and brigands. You wouldn't want to run into them this late. I guess you have a point. We have plenty of empty rooms that you can stay in until morning. It's the least I can do after you came all this way. Well, if it's not too much trouble, we might as well stay here until tomorrow. The tavern is shut down, but we still have some sheets and blankets. I'll go get the rooms ready. Oh, that's nice of them. Celeste and Flintheart leave the dining area to get your rooms ready. You're left in the dining room with Ms. Tamora. So, I take it that negotiations didn't go well? No, I didn't expect him to be so stubborn. Excuse me. Honestly, I have no idea what that man has against mages. Well, there is one way to find out. Why are you being so secretive? If your business with Flintheart is related to our clients, I can help. It wasn't important, and your presence was not necessary. That's such an obvious lie, but you can't read a single thought from her mind. She's had years of practice hiding her thoughts from the Eye of Horus. Celeste enthusiastically came back downstairs, but she seems to have noticed the tension between you and Ms. Tamora. Sorry to interrupt, but your rooms are ready now. Right. Thank you. An awkward silence hangs in the air as you and Ms. Tamora head upstairs. You reach the upper hallway and see the two rooms that Celeste prepared for you. Ms. Tamora stops before entering her room. You were playing chess with Flintheart's daughter earlier. Was she any good? Not at first, but she got a lot better as we kept playing. I'm sorry for leaving you there for so long. I didn't expect our discussion to last that long. No, it's fine. Despite everything, I enjoyed playing against her. I see. Well, I suppose you are at that age. No, it's not like that. It's just that outside of tournaments, I never really get to play against another player. And you only ever want to play shogi against me. Because shogi is clearly superior. It's complete anarchy is what it is. You just bring fallen pieces back to life like some kind of necromancer. It adds depth. Dropping adds a dimension of play that isn't present in chess. You sternly look at each other, your positions already made. After a few moments of silence, you both burst out laughing. I'm sorry if it looks like I don't trust you. I know you're just trying to help. But there are some things about my work that I just can't tell you about yet. Excuse me again. But one day, I'll tell you everything. Right. I'm sorry for prying. I just want to show you I'm ready to be an attorney. You are. I know you are. The rare praise from your mentor catches you off guard. Anyways, get some rest. You should mentally prepare yourself for the journey tomorrow. Right. You completely forgot about the carriage ride back. You can already feel your stomach churning in protest. You lay in the bed that McCoy's prepared for you, and as you close your eyes, you slowly drift into a deep slumber. As this happens, you feel something invasive. Your mind drifts away, and you feel yourself being pulled elsewhere. You find yourself in a surreal and unsettling landscape. You're fairly certain that you're dreaming right now, but some instinct in the back of your mind tells you that something is fundamentally wrong about this. You see a woman in the far distance. She's staring directly at you. What presence? She's murmuring something, but you can't quite make it out. Is she trying to say something to you? Finally found. I finally found you, Heavensborn! You're jolted wide awake. You can't exactly remember what that woman said to you, but whatever her words were, they sent a piercing chill down your spine. Your breath is heavy, and your heart is beating at 100 miles per hour. Calm down. It was just a dream. At least, that's what you try to tell yourself. Please, just let me explain. I don't want to hear it. You hear the voices of Celeste and Flintheart ring out from downstairs. It must be extremely late. What could they possibly be arguing about at this hour? I want you out of my house! Out! A dead silence lingers in the air before you hear someone rush out of the tavern. Whoever left slams the door behind them. What was that all about? It's none of your business. You only met those two today. It would probably be best not to get involved in their affairs. And as you tell yourself that, a brief image of Celeste's smile appears in your mind. Damn it. You slowly make your way out of the room, but the hallway is nearly pitch black. You can barely see a few inches ahead of you. You have to watch your step to avoid tripping. You run into Flintheart, who is slowly walking up the stairs. Even this close, it's hard to see his expression in the darkness. Sorry, I just heard... Right, I forgot you two were... His words trail off. Is everything okay? Sorry, I'm just going to... You awkwardly shimmy past Flintheart to head down the stairs. He doesn't move out of your way. It's clear his mind is elsewhere. You arrive at the dining room, but you don't see Celeste anywhere. Honestly, though, it's hard to tell with how dark the room is. Celeste? Are you still here? You don't receive an answer. You remember hearing someone slam the front door earlier. Your eyes are drawn to the tavern entrance. Celeste? No answer. Celeste, where are you? Ugh. The merchant you spoke with before steps out from his shop holding a lantern. He appears to be irritated by all the noise you've been making. Oh, you're that kid from before. Do you have any idea what time it is? This isn't the city. You can't just make a bunch of noise like this. Right, sorry. I was just looking for Celeste. Who? Celeste McCoy. She's Flintheart's daughter. The merchant's expression becomes a little colder. Do you know them? What do you want with that bastard? What? Those two probably woke up half the street with all their yelling. I don't need you keeping us up, too. If I hear any more noise, I'm going to call the town guard. Before you can get a word in, the merchant walks back into his home in a huff. You look around, but you still don't see any sign of Celeste. You decide to continue searching. I can't believe I said those things to her. She'll never forgive me for this. I see your temper is as short as ever, Flintheart. You? Honestly, how do you live in this darkness? Luxo. What are you doing here? And how dare you bring that witchcraft into my home? You've been busy lately. Your little rallies have gained quite a lot of support. Too much support for my family's liking. And what? You came all this way to convince me to stop? You have my word. If you stop spreading dissidence, no harm will come to you or your family. Ha! Your word is as good as the dirt you lick off of King Olivier's boots. As if I'd ever trust the words of a murderer like you. Flintheart, please. As someone you once called a friend, I'm only going to ask you one time. Friend? Friend? I'll be dead in the ground before I ever call the likes of you a friend. Get out of my house. I don't have time for your nonsense. Unfortunately, I don't think you'll have much time for anything. Gah! Damn it. Damn it! Flintheart, you fool! Why couldn't you have just listened to me? Rudolph, I require your assistance. Yes, sir? By the skilled lord, what did you... You killed him! Alert the town guard. Tell them that you saw his daughter fleeing the scene. I'm sure their neighbors heard them arguing with each other. They'll immediately suspect her. At once, sir. You've been searching for Celeste for a while. How long have you been outside? 2 hours? 3? However long it's been, it's clearly taking a toll on you. Where is she? What am I going to do now? You hear a faint voice. Could it be? Oh! As you peer behind an old tree, you finally find her. She looks just as tired as you are, probably even more so. Her eyes are puffy and red, but she's doing her best to hide it with a smile. I've been looking all over for you. Oh, sorry. I'm guessing we woke you up? Yeah. Is everything okay? It's nothing. It was just an argument. But from the way she reacted, this is clearly not common. You suppose that it's none of your business. You decide not to pry further. Have you been looking for me all this time? I have. Thank you. But I'm okay now. You should head back. What about you? I think I'm going to stay out a little longer. You know that you should mind your own business, but I'm sure whatever happened between you two, it's nothing you can't talk out. It doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes Miss Tamora and I get into fights too. But no matter what happens, we were always able to talk through it. Sorry, I know it's none of my business, but No, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Aw. You're right. Let's go back. What? You arrive back at the McCoy Tavern, but it's now surrounded by several carriages and knights clad in plate armor. Is that the Inquisition? Oh my god, I didn't expect them at all. What? The Arcane Inquisition! They're an order of knights that investigate crimes committed using magic! As you say the word crimes, you and Celeste share a glance and come to the same realization. Both of you rush towards the tavern, but Celeste outpaces you by a large margin. What? No! No! She reaches the tavern before you, and before anyone can stop her, she takes a look inside the inn. Whatever she saw makes her cry out in anguish. She drops to the ground in tears. There she is! Celeste McCoy, by the authority of the Wyvern Guard Crown, I'm placing you under arrest. Upon seeing Celeste, one of the knights steps forward and grabs her. Surprisingly, she's able to break free from his grip and tries to push further into the tavern. Noticing the commotion, 3 other knights rush to grab her and begin dragging her away. She kicks and screams against them, desperately trying to break free. Even between the 3 knights, it's taking all of their strength to subdue her. What are you doing to her? What is going on here? Tyrion! Ms. Tamora approaches you. You breathe a small sigh of relief when you see that she's okay. Ms. Tamora! Bah! I should have known that he was one of yours. Just stay out of our way. Ms. Tamora, what's going on? Why is the Inquisition here? I'm surprised myself. But from what I understand, Flintheart McCoy has been murdered. Murdered? Alright, so we are past the first part. You follow the Inquisition back to the city, where Celeste is being detained. According to Ms. Tamora, Celeste was the prime suspect in Flintheart's murder, and due to the supposed nature of the crime, her case would be pushed to trial immediately. but many elements of the situation still don't make sense. The Inquisition only investigates crimes committed using magic. So why is Celeste their prime suspect? Could she be a mage? This is ridiculous. She has a right to speak to an attorney. Anyways, you find yourself met with another hurdle, a very frustrating one. Yeah, well, we can't let you see her until she's been processed. Her trial is in an hour. How has she not been processed yet? I don't know what to tell you, kid. I wish I could help. You don't need to use the eye to know that's a complete lie. So, you're really planning on defending her? Do you know if she can even afford a lawyer? I just can't stand here and do nothing. You saw them, didn't you? There's no way she would murder her father like that. I know that look. I was saving this for a special occasion, but... An attorney's runestone. A magical runestone that allows you to take pictures of crime scenes and write notes telepathically. Every attorney has one. It's almost like a badge for them. This is an attorney's runestone. If you're going to defend her, you're going to need one. You begin to tear up. You've wanted one of these ever since you were a child. It's basically a badge of honor for attorneys. Don't cry, Cuthbert. Sorry. Anyways, keep one thing in mind. If you try to defend her, the Inquisition isn't going to fight you fairly. Our court system only exists to create the illusion of justice. They hate people like us, and they'll do everything in their power to sabotage you. Damn it, you knew they'd try to get in your way, but you didn't expect them to do it this blatantly. What's with all this noise? You're that knight from the tavern. That's Commander Orem White to you, kid. I had a feeling Tamora would be sniffing around this case, but I didn't expect her to send a kid to do her dirty work. Commander, he says that he wants to talk to the mage. And she's got a right to an attorney, doesn't she? Well, she hasn't been processed. Commander White looks confused for a moment. The hell kind of bullshit are you trying to pull? Let him through, you idiot. Yes, sir. The knight leads you through the halls of the dungeon. For something built in the capital, it looks extremely old and decrepit. You pick up the negative emotions of the prisoners nearby. It's a heavy and almost crushing feeling. You've always had to avoid crowded places because of how sensitive you are to people's thoughts. You've never felt this much concentrated despair before. Oh, it's you! Celeste is lying down on the cold floor of one of the dungeon cells, but she immediately gets up as soon as she sees you. What are you doing here? Miss Tamora told me about what happened to your father. I'm so sorry. I just don't understand. I don't understand any of this. Why would someone do this? And why are they blaming me for it? I'm not sure about the details, but it's clear that there were elements of magic involved in what happened. Since they arrested you based on that evidence, I can only conclude one thing. Celeste, you're a mage, aren't you? There's no sense in hiding it anymore. Yes, I am. Do you have noble blood? Of course not! Why would you say that? Sorry, but the ability to use magic is hereditary. Most mages tend to have some kind of noble blood. I honestly don't like thinking about that. I'm the daughter of Jolene and Flintheart McCoy. That's all I need to know about myself. It would probably be best not to push the matter further. Anyways, you were probably arrested because you're a mage. What? A crime was committed using magic, and you were the only mage around at the time. Is that seriously the only reason? I only know how to cast one spell. The Arcane Inquisition doesn't care about the truth. They only care about closing their cases. Celeste, your case is being pushed to trial. You're going to be brought before a judge within the hour. What? No one told me anything! Damn it, they weren't even planning on telling her? If you'll have me, I'd like to be your defense counsel for the trial. Right, I forgot that you were an attorney. Would you really do that for me? After everything I've seen them do, I can't just stand by and do nothing. But they're a part of the kingdom. Do we even have a chance? It's hopeless. Celeste, Man, king, or god, I won't let them do anything to you. What? Sorry, it's just something I have a habit of saying. No, don't apologize. I really appreciate you doing this. It's clear this entire situation is bittersweet for her. And because of the Inquisition's delays, you haven't had any time to investigate the crime scene. You were confident before, but you begin to doubt whether or not you can really do this. Everything is happening so fast it feels unreal. No, you have to do this. This is the exact reason why you became a lawyer. No matter what happens, you'll acquit Celeste. A courtroom. I'm in a real courtroom. Actually entering the courtroom has taken a lot of wind out of your sails. You've never been here as an attorney before. You've only ever acted as Ms. Tamura's assistant. The woman at the prosecutor's bench is staring at you. Ms. Tamura mentioned her before you went to see Celeste. What was her name again? You think it was Arya Steelwind. You can feel the coldness of her glare burrowing into you. Why is she staring you down? Is she trying to intimidate you? Because it's working. Court is now in session for the trial of Celeste McCoy. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. Why does she have 4 nipples? The defense is also ready, Your Honor. He doesn't necessarily sound very ready. Regardless, let's begin the proceedings. Prosecutor Steelwind, please, list the charges. The defendant is Celeste McCoy, a mercenary for hire and a registered mage. Wait, did she just say mercenary? Yeah, I had to take up a job after my family's tavern was shut down. Oh, right. That's not exactly the first occupation you'd choose. She's charged with second-degree murder and negligent misuse of the arcane arts. I see, so there was magic involved. Yes, the crime occurred within the McCoy Tavern, a local inn that shut down years ago. The locals reported hearing a loud commotion coming from within the building. Hours later, a carriage driver that was nearby checked the disturbance. It was then that he found the victim, the defendant's sword, still impaling his dead body. The Inquisition has provided an autopsy report and a record of the sword. Died after being stabbed from behind with a magical blade. Fatal wound shows heavy traces of transmutation magic. The alleged murder weapon. It's an ornately designed sword, but it has no magical properties. What was the defendant's relationship with the victim? I see that they share the same last name. The defendant is the victim's daughter, but not by blood. She was adopted into the family when she was an infant. Her birth parents are currently unknown. I see. What an unfortunate turn of events. To begin, the prosecution would like to call Commander Orem White to the stand. Why does she have 6 nipples? Witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. Name's Orem White. I'm commander of the Arcane Inquisition. Orem, could you please testify about the details of the Inquisition's investigation? Yeah. We got a call late at night. Someone discovered a dead body inside the McCoy Tavern. When we arrived on the scene, we found Flintheart McCoy dead on the floor. The defendant's sword was still inside of him. We have several witnesses who heard the victim and defendant in a loud argument before the body was discovered. Their argument must have turned ugly, because the defendant killed the victim using her magic sword. Isn't that really incriminating? One of her possessions is the murder weapon? Mr. Cuthbert, you may begin your cross-examination. You open your mouth to respond, but nothing comes out. You can't think of anything to say. Everything is blank. Mr. Cuthbert? Hey, what are you doing? This is the part where you say something, right? I'm sorry, I don't... Your anxiety is just getting worse, and your breaths are becoming more and more desperate. Are you hyperventilating? What a disappointment. I was hoping to fight against the infamous Ruby Tamura today, but it's clear you can't even hold a candle to her. Your Honor, it's clear that the defense has nothing to say against the prosecution's overwhelming evidence. Yep, this case is pretty open and shut. No, wait! This isn't what's supposed to happen. I'm sorry, Tyrion. I couldn't acquit Frey. She was found guilty. What? But that means... Are they going to execute her? No, not again. Are you seriously going to let that happen again? Tyrion! Celeste grabs your shoulders and shakes you out of your panic. You need to calm down. Her gaze is calm and focused, despite the gravity of the situation, but she looks stern, not angry. I am sorry, I didn't mean for this to... Stop. Just listen to me. You know what to do, right? Just do it the same way you play chess. What? I don't know. You were just so calm and focused when we were playing before. No matter how close I got to beating you, you always knew how to stay calm and win. So just channel that feeling and look at the pieces? That doesn't make any sense, and yet... You take a moment to focus and let everything else disappear from the world. Every statement that he made, every word that came out of his mouth, each of those is a possible weakness that you can attack. Every bleak moment can be turned around. You just need to consider every angle. My apologies for the delay, Your Honor. The defense is ready to begin cross-examining the witness. Very well. There we go. Thank God that worked. Carefully examine every statement he made, and find something that contradicts the evidence in your notes. Once you do that, present the contradicting evidence, and prove that his testimony is false. Okay, you are cross-examining a witness. Carefully examine each statement that they made, and find a statement that contradicts a clue, a spell, or a profile in your notes. Once you identify the false statement, click the Present button and present the contradicting evidence to move forward. Okay, so... Alright, so we are going to present the fact that her sword is not magical. Commander White, you testified that the victim was killed using the defendant's magical sword. Am I correct? Yeah, it's pretty obvious when you look at the crime scene. I think I'd actually have to disagree with you on that. The defendant's sword couldn't have possibly been the murder weapon. What are you talking about, kid? The sword was inside his body. Of course, that's what killed him. That may be the case, but take a look at the autopsy report. It states that the fatal wound had heavy traces of magic. So how would a non-magical sword leave traces of magic on the body? What? To leave a trace like that, the wound would have had to have been created with something magical. My client's sword may look fancy and expensive, but it is entirely mundane. That doesn't make a lick of sense. If the sword didn't kill him, then why was it in the body? Yes, I find that quite strange as well. Well, there's only one reasonable explanation, Your Honor. The wound was created magically, and someone shoved the sword into the wound afterward. The hell are you talking about? The defendant is a damned mage. She could have easily killed the victim using magic. That may be, Commander, but why would she kill the victim using magic and then stab him with her sword? She would have just been incriminating herself. No, if anything, this series of events proves one thing. Someone used magic to kill the victim, and then they pushed my client's sword into the wound to frame her. Objection! Don't get ahead of yourself. What? Your Honor, the defense is trying to spin the facts in his favor. He claims that a third party committed the crime and used the sword to frame the defendant. But wouldn't the simpler explanation be this? Magic was being channeled through the sword at the time of death. That is what left the magical trace on the body. Commander, please tell the defense how the murder was committed using magic. What? All right. I think I see where you're going with this. It's true that the sword itself isn't magical, but magic can still be channeled through it. That defendant over there, her spell compendium has a spell called Mage Blade. She must have used it on her sword before stabbing the victim. That spell is the reason why there are traces of transmutation magic on the wound. So her spell compendium contains a spell called Mage Blade. A spell compendium is a magical device that lists every spell a mage can cast. Luckily, Celeste's compendium only contains one spell. That means she can only cast that one spell. Celeste, do you have your spell compendium with you? No, I left it at the tavern after... well, you know. If you can't look at the description for Mageblade, you'll have to approach this another way. The commander's testimony was a lot vaguer this time. If you can press his statements, you might be able to find new information that you can use against him. Okay, so during cross-examinations, you can press statements to acquire more information. Sometimes pressing the right statement can make the witness add a statement to their testimony. Are you saying that my client used a spell and channeled it through her sword? There are a vast number of spells that operate like that. Spells from the School of Transmutation are almost always channeled through an object. Mageblade. It's a transmutation spell that sharpens my sword. I usually use it when I need to cut through an enemy's plate armor. You didn't realize that she led such a lethal lifestyle. But anyways, wouldn't it be excessive for the defendant to use a spell like that on the victim? He wasn't wearing any kind of armor at the time of death. The victim and the defendant were in an intense argument. Perhaps she used the spell in a fit of rage. It was a crime of passion, after all. Ugh, that theory is a little far-fetched. But you'll need hard evidence if you want to disprove it. But why would she go to the trouble of doing that? Her sword alone would have been enough to commit the murder. Mages are always looking for an excuse to throw their power around. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Isn't that just your own personal bias, Commander? We don't need to understand why the defendant did what she did. The fact of the matter is that magic was present at the crime. Do you have any evidence of the contrary? You don't. Yet. If she used a spell like that, wouldn't that have created traces of magic on the ground? How so? Well, let's say we follow the prosecution's theory. That would mean that the victim fell to the ground, with a sword still inside him. At this point, Mageblade would still be active, right? It would definitely leave a magical trace on the ground after making physical contact with it. We're already way ahead of you. We had our people scan the crime scene, and we found traces of transmutation magic right under the body, just like you said. Oh, if you still don't believe me, I have a picture of the crime scene right here. Oh, why was this picture not brought to my attention? There was no need. This entire case is open and shut. Okay, so we've got a crime scene picture. Okay, so looks like there is some sort of a broken something here. It looks like he had something in his hand, and that is the sword, and there's a puddle of blood beneath him. And I'm assuming that this honeycomb pattern is the magic. You've seen pictures of the dead before, but it feels different now that the body is of someone you knew. Looks like there are traces of magic on the ground. But this shape is a little weird, isn't it? What was that just now? You can see it right in this photo. She killed him with a stab from the front. Right, this photo does show that he was stabbed from the front. But why do you feel like there's something wrong with this picture? This would be a lot easier if you knew the parameters of Mageblade. But perhaps you can get him to add statements or evidence to his testimony. The only thing that you can do now is press his statements. So I pressed everything. Let's take a look at... Okay, so it said he was stabbed from the front, so that looks fine. Oh! He got backstabbed. I'm sorry, Commander White, but it seems that you've presented another glaring contradiction. Oh yeah? And what's that? You said that my client stabbed the victim from the front. Am I correct? Yeah, you can see it plain in that picture. So, where's your contradiction? That's the thing, Commander. Your picture clearly shows that the victim was stabbed from the front. But the autopsy report says that he died from a stab from behind. What? Rorim, you were supposed to release everything that you had. Why wasn't this photo given to me? There was no need. There's no way it could have been anyone other than that damn mage. Murmurs ring out across the gallery. It didn't matter how corrupt the justice system was. They wouldn't be able to cover up such blatant incompetence. You have them right where you want them. Order! Order in the court! Mr. Cuthbert, what is the meaning of this? I'll tell you what the meaning behind this is, Your Honor. As the autopsy report states, the victim died from a stab wound originating from his back. But this photo clearly shows that the sword entered from his front. This can only mean one thing. The sword was inserted into the wound after the fatal wound had already been created. That's crazy! Do you honestly expect us to believe that? Then please enlighten me, Commander White. How else would the sword be facing the opposite way? Do you think my client stabbed the victim with the hilt of her sword? I didn't think so. What really happened is clear. The real murderer struck the sword through the victim's wound to implicate my client. But they made a careless mistake and stuck the sword through the opposite side. Objection! It appears that I underestimated you, Mr. Cuthbert. But you've still got ahead of yourself. Really, Miss Steelwind, I believe that Mr. Cuthbert has adequately cast doubt on your case. Oh, did he now? Then let me ask you one question, Mr. Cuthbert. If your client didn't kill Flintheart McCoy, then who did? How should I know? If I'm not mistaken, it's the commander's job to figure that out. Oh, I'm well aware of the commander's incompetence. But one fact still stands. There was magic detected on the wound and the sword. Would you like for me to tell you how many mages live in that small town? You don't like where she's going with this. Just one. There's only one registered mage in that entire town. And that mage is your client. What? The defendant was also established to have been with the victim hours before his death. She was the last known person with him, and she was the only mage there. In addition to that, I have several witnesses who heard them arguing. How she murdered the victim is simply an unanswered question. I see. That certainly does change matters. I can't say that the prosecution's evidence is irrefutable, but there is still evidence that casts guilt upon the defendant. Damn it, you almost had them. There are far too many unanswered questions for me to pass a verdict. We will give law enforcement time to clear these unknowns. I suggest that they conduct their investigation more thoroughly this time. We will resume the trial tomorrow morning. Court is adjourned. Alright, so it looks like we have a break. Hello, Cuthbert. As you walk out of the courtroom with Celeste, you are greeted by Ms. Tamora. Ms. Tamora, you're here? You recall how you froze up during the first cross-examination. You feel a little ashamed that your mentor saw all of that. Well, at the end of the day, you were able to pull it together. And once you did that, you performed adequately. On that note, I wanted to give you this. Celeste's spell compendium has been added to your notes. Mageblade has been added to your notes. Mageblade, School, Transmutation, Incantation, Arcane, Gesture, none. Duration, 1 minute. Concentration, yes. For the duration of the spell, the edges of this object, usually a blade, become unnaturally sharp, making it more effective at slashing through tough material. While under the effects of the spell, the object emits a yellow radiant glow. The target object must be no longer than a 5-foot cube. My spell compendium! I swiped it from the dining area before the Inquisition arrived. I thought it'd be best for you to have it. So, this is your spell compendium. And it only has one spell. Mage Blade. This means that the prosecution has to prove that Celeste used that specific spell. It will restrict how they approach this case, which gives you an edge over them. But that prosecutor is really something else. You mean Prosecutor Steelwind? You can still remember her ripping glare. It gives you chills just thinking about it. You wouldn't even know it, but this was also her first trial. Really? I'd thought that her inexperience would make for a good first opponent. But that girl, she's a natural in the courtroom. It makes me wonder why a Steelwind would choose to become an attorney in the first place. What do you mean? The Steelwinds are a powerful noble house. Of the noble families, they are one of the few who answer directly to the king. Most members of their house take high-ranking positions in the kingdom's military, so it's a bit strange that she chose to become a prosecutor despite that. Steelwind. I feel like I've heard it somewhere before. In any case, it's best that you focus on the trial. You have about a day until court resumes. Right, now that I have time, I'd like to ask you some questions, Celeste. Namely about that argument you had with your father. Oh. You see the bailiff staring daggers at Celeste. It looks like they're waiting to take her back to her cell. Whatever questions you have for her will have to wait. I should probably go. Celeste walks away while avoiding eye contact with you. Bringing her up argument with Flintheart may have struck a nerve. I'll also use this opportunity to investigate the crime scene. I wouldn't be surprised if the Inquisition missed something. You utterly embarrassed them today. Don't expect them to make the same mistake twice. Right. There are still a lot of things we don't know about. As much as I hate to admit it, your skills of deduction far surpass mine. If anyone can figure out what really happened that night, it's you. Alright, so I'm going to save, and I'm going to take a brief break because I need to wet my whistle. So I will be right back. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. And we are going to go directly to the investigation. You arrive back at the McCoy Tavern, Luckily for you, the Inquisition set up a teleportation circle for you to use. With that circle, you can magically teleport between the capital and the crime scene instantaneously. It's definitely miles better than having to travel by carriage. Oh, it's you. What are you doing here? Commander White takes notice of you as you enter the tavern. It looks like he's working with a team of knights to investigate the crime scene. I'm the defense attorney in this case. I have just as much right to investigate this crime scene as you do. Yeah, whatever. Just remember, I got my eye on you, kid. I was wondering if I could ask you some questions about the case. Ha! As if I'd help the likes of you. I saw who your boss is, and I know what you're up to. That witch probably sent you here to con me. What? I'm just looking for some information. A likely story. He was cooperative before when he let you see Celeste. Why is he being so stubborn now? Is he angry that you embarrassed him in court today? In any case, he won't get anywhere at this rate. If you want his help, you'll need to persuade him through an argument. Okay, it helps to prepare before starting an argument with someone. Talk to Orem or present items to him to build a psychological profile for him. If you successfully fill the profile gauge, you'll receive more information during any arguments against him. The autopsy report seems to be pretty detailed in some aspects and vague in others. Why is that? I'm not sure about the details, but the autopsy is performed by a mage who studies divination. Their magic gives us details about how someone dies, but there's always a few blind spots. Blind spots? Like what? Well, for one thing, if someone mucks around with the body after death, the report becomes muddled. Divination magic can tell what happened to a body, but not in what order and at what times. But someone definitely stabbed Flintheart's body with Celeste's sword. If what he's saying is true, it will be that much harder to figure out what kind of weapon originally killed him. What do you think about this? I don't know what you're expecting me to say. Not much to say about that. It'd be best to try something else. That mage's sword really is strange. It's almost a shame that we had to confiscate it. Is it really that abnormal? It's definitely not like any kind of sword I've seen. I wonder if it was forged in the Eastern Kingdoms. Okay, so let's see. I've never seen a real spell compendium before. I'm still not exactly sure how they work. Well, spell compendiums are magical devices that display exactly which spells a mage can cast. You can probably guess, but the Inquisition uses these things all the time. Right, having that information is definitely a blessing for the defense and the prosecution. So, what does the Arcane Inquisition do exactly? You trying to pick a fight with me? No, I'm just genuinely curious. Well, I'm sure you already know, but us Inquisitors investigate crimes that involve magic. Do crimes like this happen often? Nah, maybe once in a blue moon. It makes sense, most mages are in the nobility after all. Even if they're untouchable, they don't make a habit of getting into trouble with the law. You must have an easy job then. You got that right. The only reason we exist is to clean up the nobility's messes. He doesn't seem that happy about that. Commander White, you seem to speak negatively about my client's magic. Do you have a personal grudge against mages? You're damn right I do. Wow, he didn't even try to deny it. And if you had any sense, you would too. All a mage has to do is wave their hands and say some magic nonsense. Then you suddenly have a dead body on the ground. And don't get me started on mage blight. If some noble uses their magic too much, they end up snapping and going on a rampage. I don't know if this is going too far, but why join the Inquisition if you hate mages so much? Considering the fact that, that my job is to sweep the nobility's crimes under the rug. Sorry, I didn't mean to insinuate. Nope, you have the right of it. Anytime a noble is involved in a case, I'm ordered to look the other way. You don't seem very happy to do that. Why would you stay in this line of work? Because every once in a while, I'm allowed to put a criminal mage behind bars. We can't go after the nobles, but any other mage is fair game. Or at least they were before your boss showed up. Your boss? Does he have something against Ms. Tamora? I have to ask, did something happen between you and Ms. Tamora? Ha! Ms. Tamora. What are you, her lackey or something? No, actually, she's my guardian. Oh, I didn't even know she had a... Look, kid, I don't know what the deal is between you two, but no good will ever come from associating with her. This is about the rumors, isn't it? Throughout the years, there have been several insidious rumors surrounding Ms. Tamora. She's been accused of forgery, blackmail, and all manner of illegal activities. It's clearly misinformation spread by the nobility to discredit her. She's always been fine with it, but you can't help but get angry on her behalf. It's more than just rumors. I've seen it for myself. That woman is evil, kid. She defends mages who don't have the protection of the nobility. She's not evil. She's a hero. Yeah, whatever. Orm Wright's psychological profile is complete. Alright, so it looks like we can argue with him, so let's see if we can get his help. Commander White seems unusually hostile towards you, and you have a feeling it's not just because you embarrassed him in court today. If you can clear up this misunderstanding, you might be able to convince him to help you. Let's do it! Alright, I'm just going to come out and say it. Do you have a problem with me, Commander White? You should know exactly what my problem is with you. I saw who you work for. Do I have to spell it out for you? Or does your boss not tell you what she gets up to? Arguments are not always fought using hard evidence. Sometimes you need to elocute to convince your opponent that their claim is wrong. When prompted for an elocution, choose from one of the 3 possible responses. The correct response can be gleaned from reading your opponent's psychological profile. Okay, Commander White is stubborn and stuck in his ways. He seems to have a grudge against Ruby Tymora, and will react negatively if you try to defend her. However, he will respect you if you defend yourself against personal attacks. Okay, so let's see. So we can rationalize, we can deflect, or we can defend. So defending her, he'll be negative about, but we can be rational or we can deflect. So how about we try to be rational? It doesn't matter how you feel about me or Ms. Tamora. What matters is that my client deserves a fair trial with fair representation. All I'm trying to do is give that to her. That looks like it was pretty effective. I've seen that woman do all kinds of shady shit in the cases I've worked. Forgery, bribery, blackmail, you name it. I'll bet you're just the same. A successor for the devil of defense attorneys. I'm not Ruby Tymora. It doesn't matter if the rumors are true or not. Regardless of what you've seen her do, I'm going to run an honest case. Look, kid. I'd like nothing more than to believe you, but after everything I've seen her do, I know better. I have no reason to trust you. Anyone taught by that woman can't be anything more than a crook. Okay, I will rationalize it. Her way of teaching me was ruthless, I'll give you that. But the only thing that she taught me was how to practice law. Have you seen me engage in any crook-like behavior? And like that, we have won the argument. You just want some info, right? Yes, that's all I'm asking for. All right, I'll answer your questions. Just don't make me regret this. You successfully persuaded Orm Wright. This probably goes without saying, but I don't believe that the sword is the murder weapon. Right. I guess you have to prove that someone else put the sword there. Did the Inquisition find anything suspicious on the scene? If you're asking if we found another bloody weapon lying around, we definitely didn't. That would be a little too convenient, wouldn't it? But let's say that the girl really is being framed. If there was another murder weapon, the killer probably walked out with it. Do you think they could have hidden it somewhere in the tavern? Doubt it. After the trial, Steelwind turned the place upside down and scanned it with her magic. If someone did hide a murder weapon here, they hid it well. Or they hid it in plain sight. I can't believe he made such an obvious mistake during your investigation. Oh, shut it with that. I already got an earful from Steelwind about that mess. Well, you don't have to worry about me mucking things up. Steelwind's basically taken over the entire investigation. Wait, does she have the authority to do that? Normally she wouldn't, but I know better than to go against orders from a noble. Right, there's definitely a strange power dynamic between them. But honestly, that girl sweats the details too much. She even had my men drop a scaled map of the crime scene. Wait, really? Do you have a copy? Sure, knock yourself out. Don't know how much good it'll do you. Alright, so we got ourselves a scale map of the tavern. I heard that this was Prosecutor Steelwind's first trial. She must be pretty talented if that's true. A pain in my ass is what she is. That damn noble comes in here telling me how to do my job? I honestly have no idea what she's even doing in this line of work. I heard that she's from a renowned noble house. She must be a pretty powerful mage. Ha! Powerful is an understatement. The Steelwinds who came before her could turn this entire town into a glass crater. What? There's no way that's true, right? Okay, let's take a look at this map. Okay, so this is a 5x5 map. Very Dungeons and Dragons-y. Okay, so we've got a chance to examine everything. There's a modern-looking lamp mounted on the wall. It's a lamp powered by artificery. I didn't expect to find something this sophisticated in a town like this. Bah! Artificery is just another form of magic. Actually, artificery draws from surrounding ley lines, too. I didn't ask for a science lesson, kid. Anyways, look where the artificery got these folks. The arcane power's still broke and they haven't had any power for weeks. Yep, nothing can beat good old oil and flame. Okay, so they have broken power cells. The Inquisition lit some candles, but there's a magical lamp right there. I wonder why they're not using those instead. It's a painting of a man in a suit. There's some text on it. Adam Evely, politician of the Pedantic. I've heard of this guy. He's some kind of politician from one of the nations west of here. I heard he's pretty much a shoo-in to win whatever election they have going there. An election? Was Flintheart studying democracies for his little revolution? It's a painting of a mage, and there's some text on it. Samala Daglian, a legendary practitioner of the arcane arts. He mysteriously disappeared someday. Gee, I wonder why. It's rumored that he was developing a formula for a new transmutation spell. However, he was reckless in casting the spell, and Daglian quickly lost control of its magic. His body was never found. Many speculate that he didn't actually die during the accident. But if that's true, where did he end up? Sounds like a cautionary tale against using magic. That might explain why Flintheart keeps it in his tavern. There's a broken bottle on the floor. It's shattered close to the chalk outline of the body. The label has the words Lotus Juice on it. I've never heard of that brand before. Must be foreign. Shattered bottle of Lotus Juice. There's a chalk outline of a person on the ground of the tavern. This is probably where Flintheart died. The outline matches the picture that the Inquisition took. Nothing seems out of place here. Okay, so it looks like we've got everything. You think you found everything that you can here, but what does it all mean? There's no murder weapon to be found, and there's no obvious evidence of another person at the scene. Hey, you okay? You got quiet all of a sudden. Alright, just focus. Close your eyes, and let everything else disappear from the world. Hey, you listening? So, there's no clear evidence pointing to another killer. There is, however, evidence pointing to how Flintheart moved before his death. What? There's no blood trail leading to or from the body. What does this imply about the location of Flintheart's death? Flintheart didn't move before the murder. No, there was no blood trail where Flintheart's body is. The lack of a blood trail tells us something important, namely, where Flintheart was throughout the murder. Flintheart died where he was attacked. He didn't move from his position at all. Yeah, I guess you're right. There's also the autopsy report, which says that he died from a stab from behind. He was probably caught off guard and was too incapacitated to move anywhere else. This means that the attack happened at the exact position he fell over. So we've updated the map. There's also the shattered bottle of lotus juice. I doubt it means anything, but the shattered bottle is right next to the body. Flintheart dropped the bottle when he was attacked. From that, we can infer that he was holding it the moment before he was attacked. What's so strange about one bottle, though? It may seem like an insignificant detail, but that detail could help me infer other elements of what happened during the murder. Right. There's also the fact that the artificery lights were out. Were these candles here when you arrived at the crime scene, Orin? No, we had to light some so we could see the crime scene properly. We thought it was weird, too. The girl and her father must have had their argument in pitch-black darkness. What can we infer about the state of the crime scene? So, they didn't light any candles to make up for the broken lights. The crime scene had no lighting during the murder. Okay, and the broken power cell has been updated. The argument that Celeste had with Flintheart must have been spontaneous. They weren't planning to have a conversation in this room. In this darkness, Flintheart wouldn't have had a lot of visibility. If he was stabbed from behind, he probably didn't see it coming. He was clearly surprised, and was probably in too much shock to run away. Also, the bottle may seem insignificant, but he was holding it when he was attacked. Maybe he was pouring a drink for himself, or maybe it was for a visitor. Either way, the assailant must have been unseen by Flintheart. Kid? Or the assailant attacked him from his blind spot while his back was turned. Why would his back be turned, though? Was he distracted by something? Kid! What? What was that all about? Sorry, sometimes I just get lost in my own thoughts. Yeah, well, cut it out. You're freaking me out. Right. Anyways, you think you've found everything you can here. You should move somewhere else. Okay, we're gonna head upstairs. If people keep seeing you here, they're going to start asking questions. Leave the investigation to me. All you have to do is stay quiet until the trial is over. While heading upstairs, you spot the prosecutor having a conversation with someone. They seem to be in some kind of argument. Enough. I will do as I see fit. You may be a Steelwind, but this is my land. Oh, sorry. Oh, you're that defense attorney from the trial. I am. I'm sorry, but who? Ah, how rude of me. My name is Lord Garrick Pierce, the ruling noble of this land. As the ruling noble, I suppose I should thank you for playing your role in the current trial, as misguided as it may be. I suppose that you also think my client is guilty. It does not matter what I think. This entire scandal has done nothing but rile up the common folk. Magic is a gift for the nobility, and the nobility alone. It is a symbol of the aristocracy and our divine right to rule. Oh look! Guess who knows how to do transmutation too? And now that bastard child has tainted that symbol in the public eye. All of that has nothing to do with her. She's just an innocent woman who got wrapped up in all of this. Even if she is innocent, the charges have been laid and made public. Someone must take the fall, lest the public accuse the justice system of corruption. So you're saying that she should be found guilty even if she's innocent? What do you suppose will happen if she's acquitted? All the public will see is a mage going free despite a myriad of evidence. That alone would be enough to cause public outrage. Tensions between the aristocracy and the common folk are high enough as it is. What is one insignificant girl when compared to the stability of our great kingdom? That's enough. Stop antagonizing him, Pierce. I can't refute what he said, but I don't agree with it. What? The system should be based on truth and justice, not on public opinion. Then why are you working against my client? Do you honestly think she's the kind of person that would kill her father? It doesn't matter what kind of person she appears to be. The evidence clearly points to her as the only possible killer. But you should fight according to your own ideals, just as I will fight for mine. It's hard to get a read on that woman. Several doors lead to guest rooms. Aside from the rooms that you and Ms. Tamora used, they don't look like they've been open for quite some time. There's a door at the end of the hallway. It looks like it's seen some use recently. You try to open the door, but it seems to be locked. Perhaps someone might have a key to open it. There are some candles lighting up the hallway. They look like they used to be a part of the old architecture. You return to the cell that Celeste is being kept in. The ambient despair in the air fills your mind like a horrendous stench. You do your best to ignore the emotions of the other prisoners, but you haven't had much practice blocking out this many people. As you arrive, you see Celeste huddled down in a corner. As soon as she sees you, her dour mood seems to lift, if only for a moment. Oh, hi, Mr. Cuthbert. There's no need to address me so formally. Just call me Tyrion. Okay. Anyways, I came here to ask you some questions about the case. Right. I'm sorry for freezing up like that. I almost lost this to the trial. No, there's no need to apologize. You did great. But it was only thanks to her. If she hadn't calmed you down, who knows what would have happened. But I still don't understand, though. Why were there traces of magic on my dad's body? Right, those traces of magic were on the sword and the body. Magical traces are particles of magical residue that are left behind when a mage casts a spell. They only linger around for 48 hours, and that gives you a rough timeline of when and where a spell is cast. Did you cast Mage Blade on your sword that day? I did. I usually cast it when I train in the morning. That explains why there was a trace on the sword, at least. Did the trace on my sword leave the magical trace on my dad's body? No. Magical traces can't be moved around physically. For a spell to leave a trace, it has to be active when physical contact is made. Really? What does that mean then? Whatever killed your father had a transmutation spell active on it at the time. The magical trace on your sword was just an unlucky coincidence. I can't believe this. Could you tell me more about your father? Sorry, I know this must be difficult after everything that's happened. No, it's okay. If it helps you, I'll try my best to answer your questions. Were you two close? We were. I'm sure you know this by now, but I was adopted by him and my mom. But even though I didn't have their blood, they treated me as if I did. He loved me with all his heart until... Until what? Does this have something to do with the argument that they had? I'm sorry to say this, but I could hear your argument from my room that night. Could you tell me about what happened? For as long as I can remember, my dad has hated mages. I'm not sure why, but if you even mentioned magic around him, he'd fly into a rage. So I hid my magic from my family. But why even learn magic in the first place? If you really wanted to, you could have gone your whole life without using it. Ever since our tavern closed, my family's been in a lot of debt. I decided to become a mercenary and use magic to enhance my ability to fight. Most mages are in the nobility, so people will pay a lot for a sellsword who can use magic. So that's why she's a mercenary. But I know now, learning magic was the biggest mistake I've ever made. On that night, my dad found my spell compendium. When he confronted me about it, I finally came clean to him. That's when he flew into another one of his rages. He shouted at me. He told me that I'd betrayed him and his family. I'm so sorry. I can't imagine how that must have felt. I deserved every bit of it. I knew how much he hated magic, but I learned to use it anyways. He showed me so much love, and I just threw it all away. Don't say that. I'm sure he still loved you. No, I could see it in his eyes. He hated me, and he died hating me. You feel a sharp pain in your chest as you see that thought. So, there's a locked room in the tavern. It's at the very end of the hallway upstairs. The Inquisition probably searched it already, but I just wanted to investigate it to make sure. A locked room at the end of the hallway? I think that's my room. Do you know how I could get in there? It's the only room in the tavern that I haven't investigated. You feel a suspicious gaze from Celeste. What's that look for? I'm your lawyer. I'm not going to do anything weird. Sorry, you're right. Here, you can use this key to get inside. Right, so we got the key to Celeste's bedroom. Okay, so basically don't show stuff to her. This is a pretty strange sword. I've never seen anything like it. Do you like it? It's a souvenir I got while I was traveling the Eastern Kingdoms. Wait, you've been to the Eastern Kingdoms? I thought Wyvern Guard had a strict policy preventing people from crossing the border. Well, I didn't exactly enter legally. You quickly glance at the guard of the cell. He doesn't seem to be listening. Please don't make a habit of telling people that. You're in enough trouble as it is. Yeah. I didn't expect to find artificery in a village like yours. Yeah, I bought it for my family to make their lives easier. But I think it just made things more complicated. Yeah, without an arcane power cell, those lights aren't very useful. Okay, so I think we are going to move back to Celeste's bedroom. You use the key to enter Celeste's room. However, you're startled when you notice that someone else is already inside. I've already told you knights everything that I know. What more do you... Oh, aren't you Celeste's attorney? I am. Who are you? Oh, how rude of me. I'm Jolene McCoy. I'm Celeste's mother. Nice rack, by the way. I was at the trial this morning. I can't thank you enough for everything that you've done for my daughter. So this is Celeste's mother. She might be able to tell you more about Flintheart. About that, do you mind if I ask you some questions from my investigation? Of course. I'll do anything I can to help. It's a fancy-looking bed. Celeste had it custom-made. Would something like this be really expensive? It was. I was really surprised when she returned from her travels. Apparently, she was making a lot of gold from her job as a mercenary. Wow, so you and Flintheart must have been happy for her. We are, but I still wish she'd get a less dangerous job. It's a door leading to the upstairs hallway. It's a painting of a woman with some sort of aquatic animal. Oh, I love that painting. Celeste brought it back from her travels. Supposedly, that woman is named Madeline Kipling. From what I've heard, she runs a wildlife sanctuary for endangered species. I think the animal in this painting is called a fakip. Celeste told me that she really likes them. That's interesting. You weren't aware that these kinds of creatures even existed. It's a table with several chairs. It must be used for entertaining guests. It doesn't look like it's seen much use, though. Can you tell me why your husband hated mages so much? I understand that most people dislike the nobility and associate magic with them. But on that night, it's like he was furious at Celeste specifically because she was a mage. Oh, you must have talked to Celeste. I wasn't there when their argument happened, but I can only imagine what he said to her. Do you know what happened to him? Why does he hate magic so much? Celeste doesn't know about this, but years ago, Flintheart had a sister named Effie. When I was a child, we were friends with a boy named Garrick Pierce. Oh snap, there's that name! He was the son of the ruling noble at the time. Garrick Pierce? Isn't that the nobleman that was speaking with Steelwind earlier? We were all inseparable at the time. He'd always sneak into town to play with us against his family's wishes. They probably weren't too happy about that. He was quite rebellious back then, but he's a completely different person now. But everything changed when Garrick began learning how to use magic. One day when we were playing together, he wanted to show off the spells that he'd learned. He was told not to use his magic without his instructor there, but he was just too excited. He began casting his spells, but something went horribly wrong. He lost control of his magic and fatally wounded Effie. We tried bringing her back into town, but by that time it was too late. She was already gone. I'm sorry, that must have been traumatizing for all of you. The next day, the Arcane Inquisition came to investigate what happened. House Pierce used their connections to cover up what happened. They even threatened Flintheart's family into keeping quiet. After that, the official story was that Effie had been mauled by a wolf. That's not surprising. The nobility seldom take responsibility for their actions, even for a mistake like that. Okay, so now we have a possible motive. Something changed in Flintheart after that. He began speaking out against the nobility. Eventually, he started hosting rallies in this very tavern. Each night, more and more people began listening to his words and joining his cause. The number of people that he'd gotten under his banner was terrifying. There was even talk of an outright revolution against the kingdom. That might explain why someone would go out of their way to kill him. I knew how much danger he was putting himself in, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't convince him to stop. His attitude didn't even begin to change until we adopted Celeste. Can you tell me more about Celeste? How did she become a part of your family? It all happened many years ago, back when the McCoy Tavern was still open. We were closing one night when we found a baby with white hair abandoned in the dining area. We waited weeks for her parents to come by, but no one ever came looking for her. And that baby was Celeste? Yes. Flintheart and I had always wanted a child. I thought that Celeste must have been a gift from the Scaled Lord. But one day I saw Celeste practicing her magic. I think that's when I realized that someone from the nobility must have abandoned her at our inn. I didn't care, though. I loved her all the same. I'm sure Flintheart did, too. Wait, you knew that she was a mage all this time? I did. You haven't known her very long, but she's a terrible liar. Flintheart must have noticed, too, but I think that he didn't want to believe it. It's my fault. I should have forced him to see the truth. I spoke with Celeste earlier. She thinks that her father hated her because she was a mage. There's no way he would have ever have felt that way. He loved her more than anything in the world. No matter what he said to her that night, nothing would ever change that. After seeing them together, you figured as much. Celeste was the world to him. When we adopted her, it was the first time in decades that I'd seen him so genuinely happy. They must have been really close. More than anything, do you want to hear a story? Celeste had just returned from her travels. She wouldn't stop talking about this foreign drink that she loved. I think it was called lotus juice or something strange like that. Well, Flintheart did everything he could to have it shipped here. He called in a bunch of favors with some of his revolutionary friends, but in the end, he was only able to get a single bottle of it. Is it really that rare? Yes. I wouldn't be surprised if it were the only bottle of lotus juice in the region. Wait a minute. Lotus juice? Is this the bottle that Flintheart bought? You show her a picture of the shattered bottle that you found next to Flintheart's body. It is! Oh no, he was going to surprise her with it. I found the broken pieces next to Flintheart's. Well, I found them in the dining area. That's strange. He'd been keeping it in our room so she wouldn't find it. Really? When was the last time you saw it? Right before I left the house that night. It was right before their big argument. So it wasn't just laying around in the bar. He decided to retrieve it after the argument. Alright, you think you've investigated everything you can for now, but there's still one last thing you need to do. You ready yourself for one last conversation with Celeste. Oh, you're back. Did you forget something? Actually, there's one last thing I wanted to talk to you about. Huh? Earlier you said something that I just can't let go. You said that your father died hating you. But after everything I heard about him, I don't think that's true. Your father loved you, Celeste, even in his final moments. You desperately want to reach her. If she keeps believing that he hated her, that thought will eat away at her for the rest of her life. You know that better than anyone. He's just lying to make me feel better. But it looks like it won't be that simple. You'll need to win an argument against her if you want her to see the truth. Celeste believes that her father died hating her. But after seeing them together and learning about them, you know that can't possibly be true. You just need to convince her of that. Okay, it's argument time. I know you're just trying to make me feel better, and I really do appreciate it. But everyone knows that my father hated mages. He's always hated magic, there's no reason behind it. Okay, so I'm going to present the fact that his sister died. I don't know if it's my place to say this, but there's a reason why your father hated magic so much. What? When Flintheart was a child, he had a sister. She was tragically killed by a mage decades ago. That's why he had such an immense hatred for magic. I never knew, but that doesn't change anything. That's all the more reason for him to have hated me. It was selfish of me to learn magic. I knew how much he hated magic, but I still learned to use it anyways. Magic killed someone that he loved. No wonder he was furious. But you didn't learn magic to benefit yourself, did you? You learned it to save your family after your tavern was shut down. That's... You're a good person, Celeste. You did everything you could to help your family. I'm sure your father recognized that. Just shut up. What? Shut up! Just stop it! Whatever composure she had before is slowly breaking down. You weren't there! You didn't hear what he said to me! In his final moments, he could only think of how I betrayed him. I could see it in his eyes. There's no way he would ever forgive me. Take a look at this picture, Celeste. What? A shattered bottle? Wait, is that a bottle of lotus juice? Do you know where I found this? On the floor of your family's inn. What? That can't be true. I tried to find it here, but no one sells it in Wyverngard. Your father knew how much you loved this drink. He called in quite a few favors just so he could have it imported for you. What? He did that? Your father didn't hate you, Celeste. He loved you more than anything. That doesn't change anything. If he did all that for me, it was before he knew about my secret. I'm sure he never would have done that if he knew the truth. That's not true at all. What the hell would you know about him? You barely even knew him. How could you possibly know how he felt about me? Don't you think I want to believe that he still loved me before he died? But I know the truth. There's no way he would ever forgive me for what I did. It's not just the fact that he bought that drink for you. It's also where the bottle was when it shattered. What do you mean? Your mother said that the bottle was stowed in her room before your argument. But I found the shattered bottle in the lobby where his body was. I ran into him before I went to look for you. He was going upstairs to his room. That can only mean one thing. He went to retrieve the bottle after your argument ended. What? Why would he have it? It's because he was going to give it to you, Celeste. He was going to give you a gift to apologize for what he said to you. He was going to apologize? Your father loved you, Celeste. And, as tragic as it is, he was going to try to apologize to you before he was murdered. I don't like this. My daughter working as a mercenary of all things. Come on, Dad. You know I can handle myself. I don't doubt it. But you still shouldn't have to risk your neck for our sakes. They closed the inn, Dad. We won't be able to survive unless I do this. Just be careful, okay? I don't know what I'd do if anything happened to you. No matter what anyone says, you're our daughter. And we'll love you until the day we die. Dad, how could I ever think that? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Dad. Celeste had barely been keeping it together throughout the whole argument, but her realization is finally causing her to break down. She begins crying loudly as she quickly embraces you. In this cold, dark place, she probably hadn't felt warmth of any kind for days. You're caught off guard and feel a little embarrassed, but you comfort her while she vents her emotions. Are you feeling better? Yeah, I think I'm okay now. I've been thinking such horrible things this entire time. She looks at you and gives you a warm smile. It's probably the first time you've seen her genuinely smile since this whole ordeal started. Thank you. But is everything really going to be okay? I'll make sure of it. I'll get justice for you and your father. It doesn't matter who stands in my way. Even if they're a man, king, or god. You're completely different now. What happened to the nervous wreck from before? Please forget about that. Anyways, take some time to rest. The trial is going to resume soon. With that, you've done everything you can for now. You've learned a lot about what happened the night of the murder. You just hope it's enough. But even with your investigation, you still don't know what the prosecution has planned. Has Pierce told you all of the details, Mr. Rudolph? Will you remember them? Yes, I pride myself on my eidetic memory. Just so there are no misunderstandings, I do not approve of this. You said it yourself, Lady Steelwind. There's no possible way that I could have done the deed. It has to be the bastard child. We don't know what sort of tricks Ruby Tymora might pull tomorrow. Just see this as a way of securing a just verdict. Alright, ooh. Stuff is getting good. Alright, it's time. Hello, Cuthbert. Oh, hi, Ms. Tamora. You're a lot less jumpy than you were yesterday. I'm glad to see that you're finally getting used to things. So, what did you find in your investigation? You tell Ms. Tamora about everything you've learned over your investigation. There aren't a lot of clues that point to what actually happened. Yeah, I know a lot of details about the crime scene, but nothing about the crime itself. This means I'll have to rely solely on pointing out contradictions in the witnesses' testimonies. Being reactive to the prosecution's moves is a valid strategy. Honestly, I think it was a miracle that you got the commander to cooperate with you at all. Right. You almost forgot. Commander White appears to really have it out for Ms. Tamora. Actually, I wanted to ask about that. Did something happen between you and Commander White? Ms. McCoy, please proceed to the courtroom with your counsel. Let's go, Tyrion. The trial's about to start. You should go. The judge is waiting. Right. Another secret is left buried between you two. Court is now resumed for the trial of Celeste McCoy. Let us review the proceedings from yesterday. Yesterday, the defense presented some shocking oversights made during the investigation. Yes, I personally saw to it that the investigation was conducted properly this time. I see. I suppose that puts my mind at ease. At yesterday's trial, we found an inconsistency between the crime scene photo and the autopsy report. Because of this, the defense tried to push the following narrative: that a third party must have interfered with the crime scene to frame the defendant. However, the prosecution has discovered another explanation. Because of that, the individual who discovered the body would like to testify as to what he saw that night. His eyewitness account will clear up what actually happened. Interesting. It was my understanding that the individual in question wanted to remain anonymous. Supposedly, this witness was within the gallery of the trial yesterday. After yesterday's proceedings, he felt that he couldn't stay silent any longer. So that's her plan. But why would the witness change his mind like that? Did Steelwind persuade him? Or is something else happening here? Very well. Let's hear from this witness. Witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. My name is Race Reginald Rudolph. I am a chauffeur of the equine variety. I'm terribly sorry, but I'm unfamiliar with that profession. He means to say that he's a carriage driver. Oh, I see. But in any case, it is my understanding that you found the body. Am I correct, Mr. Rudolph? Rudolph appears to be writing something in a notebook. He writes with incredible speed. His pen only touches the paper for maybe a second before he's filled an entire page. Mr. Rudolph? Ah, forgive me. I was merely taking notes on the people in this room. Taking notes? The witness has a certain compulsion to keep a record of every event that he witnesses. I see. Then I assume we will receive an accurate testimony of how you found the body. Actually, I witnessed much more than that. I saw the crime as it was being committed. And I wrote down everything that I saw. What? That is quite the claim. If that's true, why did you choose to remain silent until now? We had initially concluded that the evidence alone was decisive enough. Therefore, we saw no need at the time for his testimony. However, those circumstances clearly changed during yesterday's trial. There's no way the prosecution wouldn't leverage eyewitness testimony from the start. Something else is happening here. Very well. Mr. Rudolph, please testify to the court about what you saw that night. I was transporting a client in my carriage that evening. We were driving by the McCoy Tavern when we heard a disturbance. This occurred at 1:28 a.m. Worried that something was amiss, I walked into the establishment to see what the commotion was about. There I saw the defendant. She was lit by the blue glow of the dining room lights. She had stabbed Flintheart McCoy and was channeling magic into her sword. She removed her sword from Flintheart's back, and as he slowly turned to face her, she stabbed him again in the front. She soon realized that I had witnessed her heinous crime. She let the body fall to the ground and fled the scene. Incredible! If everything occurred as the witness described, then I see no room for debate. Of course, the evidence has always been irrefutable. You don't remember seeing him when you looked for Celeste, but it was pretty dark. Celeste, did you see this man that night? No, this is my first time meeting him. And I didn't see him when I ran out of the tavern that night. So he has to be lying. Does that mean he's the one who killed my dad? She tries her best to hide it, but you can sense her restlessness. It's hard to say right now, but it's definitely a possibility. The defense may now begin their cross-examination. Oh yeah, the lights were definitely not glowing. Mr. Rudolph, you testified that you saw my client murdering the victim. And you supposedly saw her casting magic while doing so? Yes, I could never forget such a grisly sight. That moment was burnt into my memory. I see. Well, it's funny that you say that. How so? Because your entire testimony was a complete lie. What? Are you accusing the witness of perjury? Surely you know that such accusations can't be made lightly, Mr. Cuthbert. My accusation is far from baseless, Professor Steelwind. Take a look at this report. The dining room lights are artificery devices that are powered by an arcane power cell. However, that same arcane power cell was broken during the time of the murder. The dining room lights had no energy, and the room would have been pitch black. The witness couldn't have seen anything, much less a homicide. I can explain. There's no need, witness. You could have easily seen another source of light. Perhaps one of the McCoys lit a candle because of the blackout. The witness clearly described a source of blue light. A candle or a lantern wouldn't emit a color like that. Then the witness was clearly mistaken. The witness records everything he sees in his notebook. He even remembers the exact times that each event occurred. So why would he be incorrect about such a clear and obvious detail? No, what the witness saw was clearly some form of magic. And due to the lack of power, it couldn't have been artificery. It must have been an arcane spell. That's it! What is it, witness? I must have made an incorrect assumption. Please, allow me to revise my testimony. What do you think of this, Prosecutor Steelwind? If the witness wants to revise his testimony, then I see no harm in obliging him. And you, Mr. Cuthbert? If he thinks he saw something different, then it's only fair to hear him out. You'll tear through each of his lies, no matter what he does. I remember now. Yesterday, it was revealed that Flintheart was killed using magic. I must have seen Flintheart's daughter channeling a magic spell. The spell was called Mageblade. Am I correct? That's it. The blue glow that I saw must have been created by Mageblade. Nope! I see. So, the blue light that you saw came from the defendant's magic. Mr. Cuthbert, you may proceed with your cross-examination. With pleasure. Mr. Rudolph, you don't know much about magic, do you? Of course not. Are you trying to say that I should have recognized Celeste's Mageblade? No, I admit that you probably wouldn't know about Mageblade. But that's exactly where your mistake was. My mistake? Mr. Rudolph, if you were aware of how Mageblade works, then you would know that the spell emits a yellow radiant glow. Which means that blue glow you saw couldn't have possibly been Mageblade. This is ridiculous. I'll grant you that the witness clearly remembers seeing a blue glow. But what significance could such a minor detail have? It's extremely significant, Prosecutor Steelwind. If the witness did see a blue magical glow, then he must have witnessed another spell at the scene. Preposterous! You don't have any evidence to back up that claim. That blue light made a large impression on the witness. He wrote it down in his notebook, and he specifically mentioned the color. There's no way he would be mistaken about something like that. So, what did you really see, Mr. Rudolph? Did you see my client at the scene casting a spell she couldn't possibly cast? Or did you see another mage at the scene? Well... Your Honor, the defense has no right to accuse the witness like this. Let me remind you that perjury is a crime, Mr. Rudolph. If you are found to have lied in your testimony, you will be prosecuted. No, wait, please. Now that is quite enough of that. Oh yeah! All we needed was that one last sound effect. Garrick Pierce suddenly steps down from the gallery and walks to the witness stand. He's breaking every possible rule in the book, but no one in the room moves to stop him. The bailiff looks to the judge nervously, but the judge just narrows his eyes and carefully watches Pierce. Pierce, meanwhile, shoves the still flustered Rudolph off of the stand and begins addressing the courtroom. What is he even doing here? I will not stand by while you harass my servant. Pierce, we discussed this. There is no need for you to take the stand. And what, pray tell, did they discuss? Nonsense, I have nothing to hide. And if you had done your job properly, I wouldn't have needed to intervene. For the first time, Steelwind doesn't seem to have control of the situation. What is the meaning of this, Ms. Steelwind? Who is this man? This is Garrick Pierce, Your Honor. That is Lord Garrick Pierce to you, Steelwind. I am the honorable heir to the Pierce noble house. In any case, I must apologize. I'm afraid that these misunderstandings are entirely my fault. What do you mean? You see, Rudolph wasn't the one who witnessed the crime that fateful night. It was me. I was the one who witnessed the crime. I had my driver report the body so that I could remain anonymous. What? Are you saying that you had Rudolph lie for you? I simply dictated to him what I saw and had him repeat that to law enforcement. It simply wouldn't do for a member of the nobility to appear publicly in court. Lord Pierce, regardless of your intentions, this is a very clear act of perjury. But from the look on the judge's face, you can easily tell that he won't face any actual consequences. I understand, and I will accept the consequences of that. But I would be remiss if Rudolph's shoddy testimony allowed that girl to escape her crimes. Please let me testify as to what I saw that night. Very well. This is highly irregular, but I believe the court will benefit from hearing your testimony. However, know that this misconduct has hurt your credibility. Very well. All right, let's see. On the night of the murder, I found myself unable to sleep, so I went on a leisurely carriage ride around Cornhaven. I happened to be passing by the McCoy Tavern when I heard a loud commotion from within the building. Curious, I stopped my carriage and took a single step inside the establishment. That is when I saw the scene inside. I saw the defendant stabbing that poor man twice with her sword. Twice? Garrick Pierce, he's a member of the nobility. That means he's probably a mage, right? And he's the only other mage that was there that night. Does that mean? There's no doubt about it. He's the only person that could have left a trace of transmutation on the body. He has to be the mage that we're looking for. Sorry, this must be a lot for you right now. Don't worry about me. Focus on taking him down. Okay, let me take a quick look at the notes. So it looks like... Let's present the autopsy because it's one blow and he mentions 2 blows. Ah, the music didn't stop. Damn it. That seems like a strange way to pass the time. Not that you believe him for a second. The witness's eccentricities are beside the point. What matters is that he was clearly at the scene. I wouldn't quite put it that way, but nevertheless. I'm guessing this commotion was the argument between my client and the victim? One would conclude that, yes. As we all know, both of them became quite loud during their argument. It's not unreasonable to say that the witness heard them from his carriage. If he was at the tavern entrance, then that would mean he was here. Okay, so we had the crime scene map updated. You saw the entire scene from the tavern entrance? It would be quite dark considering that the lights weren't operational, even if my client was using Mageblade at the time. Ah, of course, I'd forgotten that detail. I couldn't see what was happening, so I used my magic to illuminate the scene. You used magic at the crime scene? Yes, I remember it clearly. I conjured a blue light to illuminate the scene. Blue light! That same blue light must have been what my driver saw. I thought that Rudolph didn't witness this crime at all. If I had to guess, Mr. Rudolph must have seen the blue light from the carriage. He must have made that detail a part of his testimony earlier. That actually makes a lot of sense now that you think about it. Rudolph was so sure that he saw a blue light, it would be strange if he was lying about that. But anyways, which spell did you use to illuminate the crime scene? It was the Conjure Light spell. Conjure Light, conjuration, look so, gesture none, duration 1 hour, concentration yes. For the duration of this spell, a mode of magical light appears in the caster's hand. The color of the light is chosen by the caster and can be changed at will for the spell's duration. This mode of light provides illumination up to 15 feet of the caster and no further. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna look at the map. So 15 feet. So it would be 5 foot by 5 foot. Yeah, he wouldn't have been able to see anybody. Your Honor, if the witness used magic at the crime scene, then I'd like for this spell compendium to be added to the court record. I see no reason to invade the witness's privacy over a trivial illumination spell. I agree. The defense would need a stronger reason to requisition the witness's spell compendium. Right you are, Your Honor. Your wisdom is truly fitting of your station. Oh, shut up! Objection! Only 15 feet. Lord Pierce, you said that you illuminated the scene from the tavern entrance, and you only took a single step into the building? Of course. I remember it very clearly. I stood only at the entrance. In that case, I'd like for you to take a look at the map of the tavern. If we take a look at this map, that would place you right here, where the W is. Am I correct? Of course I was. I do not know what you wish to achieve by having me repeat that fact. Well, I find it interesting that you illuminated the crime scene from all the way back there, considering that Conjure Light only illuminates an area within 15 feet. What? The spell's range is irrelevant. We've already established that the victim would have been illuminated by Mageblade. During his testimony, Lord Pierce clearly stated that he couldn't see what was happening. That's why he cast Conjure Light in the first place. However, Conjure Light doesn't work like a normal source of light. It only provides illumination up to 15 feet of the caster, and no further. If he had stayed at the entrance, his spell wouldn't have done anything to help illuminate the scene. But what does this mean? Lord Pierce, did you illuminate the crime scene or not? Well, I can answer that question for you, Your Honor. Lord Pierce did illuminate the scene of the crime. He illuminated it because he was standing right where it happened. Mr. Cuthbert, are you trying to say that Lord Pierce was that close to where the murder occurred? How would that be possible? Well, there's only one way this scenario would make sense, Your Honor. And that would be if Garrick Pierce was the one who murdered Flintheart McCoy. Hold on for a moment. This is absurd. I could have easily used a different spell to illuminate the room. And which spell would that be, Pierce? The name escapes me. I am not sure which one it was now that I think about it. You idiot. Well, maybe we can figure it out together. When you relinquish your spell compendium to the court. What? This is a clear violation of my privacy. Steelwind, why aren't you objecting to this? If you had listened to my instructions, you wouldn't be in this situation. You've made your bed. Now lie in it. Steelwind, you treacherous... That's enough. It appears that the prosecution has no objections. With everything that has occurred, I must ask that Lord Pierce relinquish his spell compendium to the court. Alright, so he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spells. He can do Prestidigitation. He can do Conjure Water. He can do Frost Wave. He can do Shape Liquid. Ooh. I think I know how he killed him. Good job, Tyrion. We got a spell compendium. With that, this case is as good as yours. Or is it? She didn't even try to stop you from taking a spell compendium. She wouldn't let that happen just to spite Lord Pierce. She definitely still has something up her sleeve. Your Honor, I've looked at the spells in Lord Pierce's compendium. Conjure Light is the only spell that he can cast that would shed a blue light. This renders his testimony and many of his statements false. You can practically hear Lord Pierce grinding his teeth. Your Honor, Lord Pierce could very well be a suspect in the murder of Flintheart McCoy. The defense argues that this presents enough reasonable doubt to acquit the defendant. I acknowledge that Lord Pierce's actions are quite suspect. However, I will not pass a verdict just yet. There is much more we need to learn. What? That's not how it works. We proved that there's a reasonable doubt. That should be enough to acquit me, right? In a normal case, maybe, but it's different for this trial. The public won't accept an unsolved homicide involving magic. Unless we can unequivocally prove your innocence, The court will keep drawing out this case. What? But that's not fair. That's just how the system works. Our court system doesn't exist to exact justice. It exists so that the kingdom can save face. No. However, the court will be suspending the trial of Celeste McCoy until further notice. That is, until Lord Pierce can be investigated as a possible suspect.
Objection!
Oh? A possible suspect? The very idea of that is preposterous, Your Honor. Damn it. You knew she was planning something. Let's revisit the basic facts of this case, shall we? Flintheart McCoy was murdered using a blade with a transmutation spell active on it. Mr. Cuthbert, why don't you tell me the spells that Lord Pierce knows? All right. His spells are Prestidigitation, Conjure Light, Conjure Water, Frost Wave, and Shape Liquid. You've realized it too, haven't you? Lord Pierce doesn't know any transmutation spells that can be channeled through a solid object. What? That can't be right. You're right. You're absolutely right, Lady Steelwind. I couldn't have possibly committed the murder. I see. With that in mind, that would leave the defendant as the only possible killer. But he was the only other mage there. He has to be the real murderer. But he doesn't know any transmutation spells that can affect a solid object. We can't prove that he stabbed him while casting magic. Wait a minute. How did he do it then? She's right. How did he do it? If there are traces of transmutation magic on the wound, then Flintheart was definitely stabbed by something magical. But none of his transmutation spells can affect a steel blade. Does that mean that he used something else? The defense did cast some doubt on this witness's testimony. Nevertheless, I must conclude that he could not have possibly committed the murder. With that in mind, please wait, Your Honor. We still can't conclude that Lord Pierce couldn't have committed the crime. What are you on about? Lady Steelwind said it herself, you commoner. I don't know any spells that can be channeled through a metal blade. He's right, which can only mean one thing. You didn't use a metal blade, did you? What nonsense is this? The autopsy report clearly states that the wound was created by a blade. If he didn't channel magic through a blade, how could he have possibly committed the crime? Yes, your claim seems quite contrary to the facts thus far, Mr. Cuthbert. Which spell could Lord Pierce have possibly used to kill the victim? Shape Liquid. You see, Your Honor, Garrick Pierce didn't kill the victim using a sword. He killed him using an object shaped exactly like a sword. What? I'm afraid I don't quite understand, Mr. Cuthbert. I'd like for the court to take a look at Lord Pierce's spell compendium. Garrick Pierce knows a seemingly insignificant spell called Shape Liquid. With it, he can control a body of water and shape it into any complex shape he wants. Then he can freeze that liquid, maintaining its current shape. A shape like a sword. What? No! Is it possible that he... What do you have to say for yourself, Lord Pierce? What do I have to say? Pierce's breathing becomes more frantic. He's clearly not used to being put in a corner like this. You can see his stress and frustration emanating through the eye of Horus. You have him now. Time for the finishing blow. I'll tell you exactly what I have to say, you commoner. I'm not the one on trial here. We're here because that bastard child didn't know her place. She's just a peasant, yet she still learned the arcane arts. And look what happened. That girl used our holy arts to murder her father in a fit of rage. So... supposed to present? What is the evidence that proved him wrong? And how, pray tell, did you see everything? If you recall, you testified that you only took a single step inside the inn, but you would have needed to be within 15 feet to see my client with Conjure Light. This again? If you're going to keep treading on that one detail, then I admit it. I stepped further into the inn. I kept that detail out of my testimony, all because I knew that you'd use it to cast suspicion on me. Lord Pierce! But you didn't just keep that detail from your testimony, did you? You testified the opposite. That makes you guilty of committing perjury. No, I mean... you miserable wretch! And let's not stop there. For your story to be true, you would have needed to be within 15 feet of my client. According to your testimony, my client had just finished committing a murder. Wouldn't she have noticed you? If you were that close, then you would have surely been close enough to apprehend her. So why didn't you? Don't you have a duty to your citizens? Shut up! Shut your dirty peasant mouth! That woman was armed. I had no reason to put my life in danger. I was terrified when I saw her holding that bloody sword. My life was in danger. But that can't be right, can it, Lord Pierce? This photo of the crime scene shows that the sword was left in the victim's body. How could she still be wielding her sword if she left it there? What? Damn you! Damn you! Steelwind, why aren't you saying anything? What? Prosecutor Steelwind has lost her usual air of confidence. You find it strange, though. Even when you had the advantage, she always maintained her usual poise. Lord Pierce, please pull yourself together. How can I remain calm when this charlatan is trying to frame me? This is a complete travesty of our justice system. I came here to reveal the truth and testify against that criminal. And what do I get instead? Slander from some lowly defense attorney. You talk about justice, but you've committed several acts of perjury to twist the outcome of this trial. You are clearly not acting in good faith. You don't care about justice. You just want to further your agenda. So admit it, Pierce. You created a makeshift sword using shaped liquid, and you used it to impale Flintheart. You shoved my client's sword into the wound while the remnants of the real murder weapon evaporated. It was a perfect crime, wasn't it? What? Lord Pierce. My apologies, Your Honor. It's just that I realized something absolutely hilarious. What? Has he finally lost his mind? The defense put forward an interesting theory, but there's one problem with it. And what's that? I think you said it yourself. You shoved Celeste's sword in the wound while the remnants of the real murder weapon evaporated. It was a perfect crime, wasn't it? You see, it would have been a perfect crime, because any evidence to support that theory would have evaporated with that frozen blade. What? No! He's right. If he used an ice blade to kill Flintheart, it would have evaporated by now. Then that means there would be nothing left of the murder weapon. You've spun quite the tale here today. But in the end, you don't have a shred of evidence to support it, do you? You have nothing on me. Isn't there anything we can do? You become quiet. Tyrion, why isn't he saying anything? Is it really hopeless? But all it takes is one look at the expression on your face. Any worries she had instantly disappear, because she realizes the expression on your face. It's the same expression you made every time you defeated her. What is this? You can glare at me all you want. It won't change the fact that you've lost. I despise people like you. You twist the system to serve your own ends. You trample on the lives of innocent people. But as long as I'm here, I will never let that happen again.
Naught can remain concealed.
What did I just do? Your head feels like it's about to burst. The pain is unbearable and overwhelming. But at the same time, you feel an extreme sense of clarity. As if you can see more than you could before. I can't believe that peasant pushed me this far. Once again, you see Pierce's thoughts through the eye of Horus. But this sensation feels different from how it usually is. It's more intense and potent this time. It's almost as if you can do more than just read his surface-level thoughts. You've activated the Empowered Eye. With it, you'll be able to do more than see the witness's thoughts. You'll also be able to affect what they think about. Project items into Pierce's mind to evoke thoughts from him. You'll want to project items that make him think about the murder. Evoking the right thoughts will raise your insight. Once the insight gauge is filled, you'll have everything you need to implicate him. Whoa! Why am I thinking of such a thing? That piece of evidence didn't evoke any useful thoughts from him. What an ornate sword. I wonder how a commoner like her obtained such a thing. I wonder if the Inquisition will let me have it once the girl is convicted. This doesn't give you anything that you can use. You should try something else. Even now, that image is still lingering in my mind. I didn't expect this experience to have such an effect on me. After all the trouble I went to, I can't believe that lawyer figured out the spell I used. Well, no matter, it's not as if there's any evidence to prove that I used it. I'm lucky that old fool had that bottle of water with him. Water? From a bottle? Wait, a bottle? Well then, as riveting as this has been, I believe it's time for me to take my leave. Now wait a minute, Pierce. What is it now, you wretch? I'll say it as many times as you need to hear. There is no evidence of a liquefied weapon at the crime scene. You're right, Pierce. If you did use shaped liquid on a body of water, the murder weapon would have evaporated entirely. It seems you've finally gotten that fact through your thick head. Bravo! But let's not get ahead of ourselves, Pierce. What if you didn't use shaped liquid on a body of water? What if it was another type of liquid? What are you going on about? Pierce, shaped liquid doesn't just work on water. It works on all kinds of liquids. This shattered bottle contains the liquid that you cast your spell on, didn't it? You show him the picture of the shattered bottle of lotus juice. That bottle. Pierce, I found this shattered bottle on the ground near the victim's body. I wonder what caused it to shatter. You must have decided to use any liquid you could find. Luckily for you, the victim was holding the perfect quantity of liquid in his hands. I wonder, Lord Pierce, if we had someone analyze the broken pieces of this bottle, would we find traces of transmutation magic? You little... That still proves nothing. So, what if there are traces of magic on the shattered bottle? You still don't have a murder weapon. I wasn't finished, Pierce. What? You see, the liquid contained in this bottle wasn't water. It was soda. So, what difference does that make? A blade of ice made out of water would have evaporated entirely. But a blade of ice made out of soda would leave a puddle of dried residue. No, it can't be. I'd wondered why there was such a circular trace of magic under the body. If we checked out the outline of that trace, I'd bet we'd find a dried puddle of soda residue. That would prove that you used your magic on that soda. There's your murder weapon, Pierce. And that's checkmate. Bailiff, tell Orem to analyze the crime scene at once. We must determine if this puddle of soda residue exists. The time window to find traces of magic is closing. So, we had our team search the crime scene for that soda puddle. I really can't believe it, but we found it. In fact, the outline of the dried soda lines up exactly with the outline of the trace of transmutation magic. We checked the broken bottle, too. There were traces of transmutation magic on it as well. There's no doubt about it. Someone used magic on that soda. I see. Thank you, Orem. Please escort Lord Pierce back to the stand. What do you have to say for yourself, Pierce? What do you think you've accomplished here today? Do you honestly think you can indict me? I'm an aristocrat from the highest echelons of our society. That fool of a man was an insurgent. He was a threat to society, and I did my civic duty by removing him. Objection! Bailiff, please escort the witness to a holding cell. Steelwind? First-degree murder is punishable by execution, Lord Pierce. I suggest you remain silent, lest you incriminate yourself further. What? You can't be serious. Shut your insidious mouth. Well, what are you all waiting for? Take him away. Yes, take him away at once. I can't believe it. We actually won. Tyrion, It's all she can do to hold back her tears. You don't need to say anything. Your face says it all. Thank you. You've more than exceeded my expectations today. Ms. Tamora, I'll be honest. When I realized that the murder weapon evaporated, I thought that the case was shot. I can't believe you were able to turn that around. It was just luck. If he had used water, we would have been done for. It had nothing to do with luck. You were able to deduce which liquid he used. And you did it just by looking at a few shards of broken glass. Your skills of deduction never cease to amaze me. That's not exactly true. But with Celeste there, you can't tell her about your new ability. You all are quite lively. There's no need for such hostility, though I wouldn't expect any less from the Hound of the Eye Taker. Wait, what did she mean by that? You glance at Ms. Tamora, but when she meets your gaze, she immediately looks away. She looks like she's focusing, almost as if to protect herself from a certain eye. I must admit I was hoping to test my blade against you directly. However, your protege proved to be a worthy adversary. Thank you? Is this some kind of game to you? You talk about trials as if there's some kind of competition. Your action almost condemned an innocent woman to death. Our system operates by having two powers of opposition. When those powers are balanced, justice prevails. Make no mistake, your victory today was just our system working as intended. Working as intended? You know very well our system only exists to protect your people. I know. What? In any case, it looks like we'll be facing each other more frequently in the future. I look forward to doing battle with you again, Tyrion Cuthbert. What a strange girl. Well, that kind of killed the mood, didn't it? Not at all. I think we should celebrate. Oh, what did you have in mind? There's this amazing restaurant in the upper quarter of the capital city. They usually only serve nobles, but they let anyone in if they have enough gold. Wait, do we have enough gold? Of course we do. Don't worry about the details. I'll handle everything. Wait, just how much money does Mrs. Tamora make? And so began my journey into the world of law and magic. Our justice system is rotten to its core, and I'll have many trials ahead. Regardless, I'll keep fighting on and get justice for every one of my clients. Alright, and that's the end of the first episode. This feeling. I knew it. His radiant soul has finally awakened. I can't believe it. I've been waiting for so long. I can't wait for the day when I can see his eyes draped in agony. Alright. Okay, everybody, we went a little bit longer than I intended, but I hope you all liked the first case, and we are going to raid Desert Bus for Hope. So everybody, we'll be next streaming on Thursday night, and we'll be doing part 2. So until then, this has been Jewelry Jelly with Daryl Takahashi and George Washing Machine. And until we meet again, may all of your tea times be perfect.